Next up we have Craig Smith, and one thing I found intriguing about Craig, we just met today, and he and I have something very much in common, and that is that we're both very avid Pokemon Go players. Why did you moan like that? Are there any Pokemon who wants to admit? Thank you. See, we're not alone, Craig. I'm a level 21, he's a level 25. He's a Pokemon master. So I'm excited to learn from him. We're going to talk a little bit about accessibility today. And a little bit later, I think, is it tomorrow, we're going to be doing an interactive activity as well. Excellent. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, Craig Smith.
I'm looking, there's a very, very consistent theme amongst the Hawaiian shirts that people chose. There were three colours, but boy, the blue and white have really come out in the winning combo there, I think. This is really cool. I actually didn't know what Richard was going to talk about, but it actually transitions quite nicely into the start of what I'm going to talk about before I get onto maybe some sort of smaller focused things. But I've been very fortunate the past couple of weeks, actually, as the term's been wrapping up in New South Wales. I've been able to catch up with some really interesting teachers and some friends, and we've been talking about all sorts of really cool things that I thought I'd put together. And one of the things we've been talking about, and it's perfect for the Hawaiian shirts that we're wearing, is we've been talking about German philosophers. That's just a perfect tone for this setting. And Schopenhauer is one of my top three. I don't know where he sits in your top three, but he sort of definitely goes back and forth for me in terms of German philosophers of the Romantic era. But one of the things that he's got that he talks about is this telescope, and it's Schopenhauer's telescope. And the idea that he had is that to gain perspective on any problem, we should try and travel around, say, 50 odd years into the future and flip the telescope around, so you're looking through the wrong end and making decisions with the benefit of hindsight. So you're actually putting yourself into the future, looking at now and thinking, what sort of decisions are we going to make right here and right now that are going to impact upon the future, and what sort of things do we want to have happen in the future that are made by what we do now. And it's something that's quite important to me. I mean, I work in a school for children on the autism spectrum, and I do a lot of outreach work in different schools around crisis support for kids and getting kids to get through school. And a lot of the times I look at the kids and I look at the school and I think, I think you were born maybe like 200 years too early. I think schools aren't quite ready for who you are yet and what you need in this schooling environment, and the walls and the structure and the 9 till 3 and all of this stuff. I just don't think this is exactly what you need. But what are we going to do now that is going to, I mean, we need to help you now, we need to do the best thing possible for you, but in terms of the broader future of what we're going to do for that inclusive success for all kids, what do we want to hopefully generate in 50 years' time that can be generated from the decisions of now? And that's something that I'm particularly focused on and thinking about, the sort of seasonal, just let me check. Yeah, this is okay. I thought I took those colour changes out. That's okay. We can roll with that, because keynote magic. What I'm really interested in is just the variance of kids that we've got, because we've got so many different kids with different little skills and different things about them. And as Richard said, this is very much about, for me, I just want to see kids have a really successful, happy little day at school and go home and think that was a really lovely, successful time. I'm sometimes not very big picture. I just want every day to be fun and nice and happy, and for kids to get really, really good outcomes from that day. One of the things that I'm really have been more and more invested in, I think, as just a single phrase that sums up a lot of what I'm interested in, is the idea of being able to reach all learners. So how do we really tap into the potentials that all of our kids have and no one is left out? And I think one of the risks that I find in a lot of mainstream classrooms is, a teacher out the front talking and maybe hitting 20% of the kids in the class who are putting up their hand and answering and giving feedback, and then there's 80% of kids who aren't necessarily as engaged as that 20, and there's certainly a lot of that 80% who are just disconnected completely and drop out and just don't go through with schooling and don't find it a success. So I'm really interested in how we try and reach as many kids as possible through the universal designs we put in place in the classrooms. This is my school down in Newcastle in the Hunter Valley, where the Hunter School for Children with Autism. We've got about 140 kids there, and we're a bit of a transitional setting in that we're not you don't spend your educational career with us. We just, you come to us, we fill your little tool bag with emotional regulation skills and emotional intelligence and self-regulation and social skills and communication, all the functional good stuff in life. We put that in your little backpack, and then you go into the schooling of your choice. But we're very, very invested in the strengths and the special interests and the different brilliance of our kids. And we're always trying to find that thing that sort of really taps them into their special interests so we can passionately engage with them. And a magical thing happened a couple of months ago now that Carl has alluded to there with the launch of Pokemon Go. I wasn't aware of it at first, but Troy Metcalf in the room put out a tweet on the 6th of July saying, hey, a wild Charmander appeared, I want to be the very best. And I could barely get to the keyboard fast enough and type in, what is going on here? What has this arrived? Because I've been waiting on this for quite a while. For about 25 years I've been waiting for this opportunity to virtually engage with Pokemon. Troy said it's just been released in the store. I was amazed, and because I was actually in Cairns at the time, I was in, there was a Slide to Learn conference at Cairns, and we were all running around doing outdoorsy stuff. Steve Papp, who's here with Liz, were doing these wonderful outdoor excursions, collecting bugs, real bugs, and it was just such a synchronistic thing that we could then find Pokemon had launched. I caught a Charmander on the back of Kathy Hunt's chair. About 2 minutes later, Pokemon started to turn up in all sorts of weird and wonderful places. We ran around the beach that night, capturing gyms. We met a whole bunch of dentistry students who were also in Pokemania, running around, and we just thought, this is absolutely incredible. The passion and the silliness and the special interest sort of driven enjoyment of this was really something quite interesting. And it was a funny thing that the next day I was flying back to Newcastle, and even the posters are so excited about Pokemon Go, they're just falling off their walls. One of our families, her mum wrote to me, and she wrote a lovely blog post and linked me up, and she said, have you heard about Pokemon Go? I said, absolutely, I've just been running around the beach, capturing Pokemon with dentistry students. And she said, well, this is incredible. My son, so a son on the spectrum, daughter on the spectrum, she said, we are just finding it to be absolutely amazing. The sort of social skills that are being generated here with going out and making small talk with people that the kids have never met, and they've got this shared language. The physical health, she said our dog is half the size that he was like two days ago because of how much we're walking. And she said, I used to say, like, do you want to go to the shops? Who wants to go to the shops? And the kids are like, absolutely not. We're playing Minecraft. We're not going to the shops. And now she says, who wants to go to Coles and do some shopping? And they're like, please take me to Coles. I need to go to Coles. And there's a gym right next door, and I might find a Squirtle in the fruit aisle. So, it was just an amazing experience. I started to put together some learning experiences, but I thought we need to try and capture this, because I'm really interested in this idea of capturing the zeitgeist as it's happening for kids. And the moment that something starts to get their imagination burning, you think, well, let's do something with this while it's still hot and turn it into a really lovely school experience. So I put this together, this Explore Everything with Pokemon Go. It's up on the iTunes U store, just as a free download to get all the learning resources inside of there. And, just simple things like talking about mapping skills. When you catch a Pokemon, it plots it on a map. So we're looking at cartography and what mapping is all about. Basic math skills, thinking about, if you've got a Poliwag here, what have we got? 2,722 bits of Stardust, 3 Poliwag candies. How many times can you power up that Poliwag given the number of Stardust and candy that you've got? What's the answer to that one? You can twice. You can update him 2 times. Functional, useful maths. That is, things like Amasiograph when we're going out. I don't know if you know this app. actually Steve and Liz introduced this to me on the walk on at Slide to Learn, this beautiful symmetry-based art app when you draw on one half of the screen and it creates a perfect symmetry on the other half of the screen. So we went out with the kids finding bugs in real life and little stick insects and things. Well, let's do a little science journal of the nature that we're finding outside. And one of the things that is always forefront to me is the idea of emotional regulation and teaching kids about their emotions and their feelings. And this was something that we thought was such a beautiful link with talking about Pokemon Go. We use this structure, this program called Zones of Regulation. I don't know if you know it, it's an occupational therapy, seeing a few nods, program from America, and it's just a 4-colour scheme approach. Blue is to represent feeling sad, feeling a bit down, a bit sick and tired. Green is optimal, so I'm happy, calm, settled, ready to learn. Yellow is I'm starting to feel a little bit frustrated, a little bit stressed, and a little bit antsy. And then red is I've lost control, I'm very frustrated and very, very upset. And so we said, let's look at the Pokemon that we're catching and let's put them into their little emotional spaces that you think they might well align. Psyduck is always a little bit, he's always got a headache, he's not well, he's in the blue zone. Pikachu's always a happy little chappy, he's in green. Oshawott there's a bit of cranky, he's always got a little bit of stress built up, and Charizard's just an unrestrainable, you can't control him. It's not the first time that we've done things like this, because we similarly linked these zones of regulation to the movie Inside Out last year, which was a beautiful thing, because we're always looking for ways to give emotions these really concrete, tangible ways of getting the kids to consider them. And in that similar way, we built up these learning experiences on the iPad, getting the graphic novels of Inside Out, taking screenshots, putting them into apps like Sketchbook Ink, and visually annotating the different characters to say, well, what sort of emotions do you think the characters on this page are feeling? What sort of things do you think are making them feel that way? And there's this lovely app by the Zones of Regulation called Exploring Your Emotions. And what it does is it lets you plot your emotional trajectory across the day. So you put a little visual timetable down there, and at the end of each session you emotionally check in so you know how you're going across each day. You see the common sort of patterns and triggers that pop up. So we're really interested in that space and how this is the Nintendo Miitomo app, doing little animated versions of yourself, how you look when you're in those different emotional states. Things like Minecraft, of course, is a ubiquitous favourite for us. We've just put together this school tour with Minecraft that our kids made on the playground, walking around with their iPads and building our school in Minecraft. So now, as part of our enrolment package for the kids, you get a link to either download this map to walk around inside the Minecraft version of our school, or you can just watch the video. So it's like a little virtual social story that for kids who've never been to our school, you think, well, they know where the playground is, they know where the hall is, the toilets, the classrooms, because they can walk around inside a Minecraft virtual little version of that school. And that's really, I think, where our passion lies, in always trying to connect those special interests to where our kids are and to focus on how they learn and what it is that's very special about the way that they experience their schooling, so that we can look at how they're doing now and think, what sort of things are we doing that in 50 years it's just going to get so much better and so much more inclusive and so much more targeted toward this goal of reaching all learners. Now, what I want to do to wrap things up for my session is I want to do a little accessibility challenge, because accessibility is so wedded for me with the idea of how we reach all of our learners and make it a very inclusive mode of schooling. So what I'd love to do here is just a brief accessibility challenge, and it's very much linked with Kathy's selfies that we took earlier, so you may actually already have photos that you can do this with, because what we're going to do is add descriptions to images in Twitter. Do we have people here who are on Twitter tweeting? Some, quite a few. If you're not, You probably don't have time to sign up in the next 5 minutes, but look hopefully next to someone next to you who is on Twitter, because this is really important. When this is, say, a picture that I've pre-made, but you all took selfies earlier, but you know, when you post this onto Twitter, as lots of you did with the hashtags for the IPLZA GC, and you put the picture up, if you're someone who's got a vision impairment, say, and you're using VoiceOver on your iPad or your iPhone to go through your tweets, you may have got the text, and it may have said something like I'm taking selfies at the Gold Coast room at iPadpalooza, but the contents of that picture is totally unknown, because it's just a vision on the screen that has nothing attached to it. So what we're going to do is, when we tweet pictures out across the next 2 days, we're going to add visual descriptors, because I know that I've got a lot of friends who are vision impaired, and we've all got, I'm sure, friends and family and kids who would benefit from having the text associated with those images when we post it onto Twitter. So I'm going to show you, so you can open your Twitter if you've got Twitter open, or you've got someone that you're going to sit next to with Twitter. I want you to open it up and go to your page. So you've got this little silver little cog here, that's one of the options there. And you're just going to tap that cog, and it brings up a little list of options. Tell me if I go too fast, but I don't want to go too slow either. You get these little options, you're going to go to settings. You tap settings, and towards the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a little general section that says display and sound. So you go into display and sound, and you've got a little, you'll see a word there, accessibility. You'll tap the accessibility button, and it's the last little box here is compose image descriptions. So you just make sure that that's turned on. So you want that, it may already be turned on, but if it's not on, just turn that to green so that your image descriptions are turned on. You can see that there, just a bit bigger. Now, when you have a photo, so you can use the selfie that you took earlier, or you might like to take a new photo. What you're going to do when you go to tweet that picture, so you're going to make a new tweet, and you're going to insert the photo, and what you'll notice is that at the bottom of your photo, there's the words now that say add description. Can people see that on theirs? If they're just people of the special educator in me is thinking, have I task analysed that properly? Have I gone at a good pace? So you're going to add description there. And what that lets you do, it says describe this image for the visually impaired. So you're going to now write in there a visual description of what that picture is. I've added one here. I just put, this is an animated picture of Craig Smith, a man with brown hair and a brown beard, at the beach, jumping in the air while holding a guitar beside an iPhone with a leaf coming out at the top of it. Text, hashtag IPLZA. You can be liberal or conservative with how much description you want to put in there, but just think for someone, and I think about my good friend David, who, you know, he's completely vision impaired, that he just can't see the screen. I think, what do I want David to get out of this picture and this tweet so that he can share in the experience of knowing what this is all about? So when you've got that little visual description in there, it adds it on top of your picture, and you're all done. And why that's a lovely thing is that, like I said, with VoiceOver, if you have VoiceOver reading the screen, it will read out the tweet, and then it will say there is a picture, and the picture is, and then it will read the description that you've given it. That's pretty cool. Do people think that's a pretty cool accessibility tip to start with? Awesome. And now that's the hashtag there. We're going to do another accessibility challenge tomorrow afternoon that's going to step things up a notch, but I thought we'll ease in with that. And I thank you very much for having me up here this morning, and I hope we have a wonderful 2 days. We're all looking fantastic. Thank you very much.